Before I begin, I want to put up a quick disclaimer about the language I'll be using in this video. Malcavians have always been associated with insanity, but it's important to note that much of the lore has moved away from the idea of them simply being crazy. Their perceptions and thought processes are partially fractured, and a lot of that fracturing manifests in ways similar to mortal mental illness. It's a fine line to walk because it's so hard to discuss these sorts of derangements without resorting to the language of mental illness, but I'd like to start this lore video off with an important snippet from the book The Lore of the Clans. Vampires don't like to say what they mean. Look at all the polite terms we use to talk about the nasty, nasty things that happen to us. Embrace means ripping the throat out of someone's mother and shoving the blood back in the wrong hole. The lexicon flows with flowery terms growing on mass graves. Madness is an archaic word used to describe what happens to the Malcavians because of their embrace. These terms follow us around like a stink cloud. Others talk about our madness as if it can be defined and accounted. They want to hold us down and define us because deep down they are scared of what we could really do. They fear the unknown we've touched because we've been able to grab a hold of it just for a second. Malcavians are broken from their first night as a vampire. We don't have anything to hold on to as we fall. It goes beyond mental health. Malcavians can't go into therapy or take medication. The afflictions we suffer may mirror ones defined by psychology, but that's because of our human shells. Some Malcavians drift through illnesses like hosts at a party. Psychology is the study of human behavior. We're not human. Humans love to anthropomorphize things, so sending a Malcavian to a psychiatrist is like trying to talk to your cat by meowing back. Now with that out of the way, hello, and welcome back to Masquerade Monday and a new lore video about everyone's favorite lunatics, the Malcavians, the third in my series on vampire clans. Clan Malkavian is twice damned. Once by the curse of vampirism, and again by the mental disturbances all those of the bloodline suffer from. Upon embrace, every Malkavian is stricken with an overwhelming insanity that fractures their outlook for the rest of eternity, making their existence one of mania. Some consider this a form of insight, while others simply consider them dangerous. The mortal mind collapses as it goes through the Malkavian embrace, and the resulting vampire is forever changed by the experience. From the moment they are created, Malkavians begin to suffer from at least one madness that can never be permanently overcome. Malkavian insanity is a painful, alienating phenomenon, but it occasionally provides them with bursts of perception or previously unknown perspective. Hysteria for the Malkavians may appear to be any clinical form of insanity, or it may be an acuteness of senses others don't know they have. Is there a supernatural puppeteer pulling the Malkavian strings? Or are Malkavians somehow ahead of the vampiric evolutionary schedule? A Malkavian may believe either one of these things, or both, or none at all. They may be a non-stop predatory psychopath, or mostly lucid, or sometimes rendered catatonic from fear of an impending cosmic disaster or apocalypse. Their precarious stability makes it hard for other kindred, or indeed anyone they meet, to interact with Malkavians. Even so, many members of the clan have assumed the roles of seers and oracles among kindred and kine, eerie figures bound by strange compulsions and the ability to perceive what others cannot. The clan sometimes indulges in elaborate, terrifying, and dangerous pranks, which do little to endear them to other vampires. These incidents are nominally meant to educate the target, but the lesson can often be lost between the scramble for safety and the inability to understand the Malkavians' inner logic. Common pranks might be to replace a vain Toreador's haven door with a guillotine, or giving a hunter the location where the Nosferatu gather. Kindred both dread and resent these pranks almost as much as they do the Malkavian themselves. Against all odds, however, the children of Malkav are among the oldest surviving vampiric lineages. They are one of the 13 original Cainite clans and can trace their history back to before the biblical flood. They were also among the founders of the Camarilla and are widely known as one of its pillars in modern knights. I made a video all about the Camarilla and its founding, which you can watch here. As with all the major clans, the Malkavians originated in the first city Enoch, a place that will be discussed further in an upcoming lore video about Cain. Little is known about the Malkavians' formation, only that their antediluvian, Malkav, was a seer embraced by one of the second generation. Malkav was particularly close to two other kindred, Saulot, the founder of the Salupri, and Set, self-appointed god to his followers. Some accounts suggest the three shared the same sire, possibly Cain's child Enoch. sometime after the flood, Malkav was ambushed and murdered by his fellow antediluvians. Most Malkavians believe that he is still undead, only now he exists entirely within the group mind that all Malkavians share. Some Malkavians speculate that Malkav literally is Clan Malkavian, and that when Gehenna arises, he will devour the clan whole, thus making himself whole again. Many of the early Malkavians posed as city gods, using their madness to convince the population that they spoke and listened to the gods. In Greece, many of the early Malkavians prospered as oracles and soothsayers, and later, their foresight placed them into the role of viziers and advisors to the ruling Ventru of Rome. It was on the behest of the Malkavian prophetess that a Roman Ventru prince called for war against Carthage. I talk about this particular battle from the perspective of both sides of the war in my videos on the Bruja and the Ventru, the first of which you can watch here. Eventually, the Malkavians were blamed for the more unstable emperors, and when Rome finally fell apart, the Malkavians drifted away, shattered and lost. Several Malkavians became attracted to early Christianity, seeing Jesus as the reborn Malkav who would end their curse. The Dark Ages were a difficult time for the Malkavians. Still suffering from their fall as an important clan after the collapse of Rome, many of the kindred either feared and distrusted them or just pitied their sad, insane state. Humans also feared the madness of the Malkavians, and many were persecuted more for their derangements than for their vampirism. That is not to say all Malkavians suffered horribly. Quite a few became advisors, seers, and jesters to well-placed and powerful Cainites. The Renaissance was a chaotic and paradoxical time for the Malkavians, much to their delight. The developing forms of literature and philosophy granted them a freedom that was only overshadowed by the religious backlashes against it. Malkavians stood on both sides of the fray, dabbling in and disturbing Camarilla and mortal politics. Many Malkavians also came to fancy the growing medical developments, particularly insane asylums. The Victorian era was a time of Freud and Jung, and the old theories of demon possession and divine punishment gave way to more learned theories of psychology and psychiatry. Asylums now started doing what Malkavians had been practicing for centuries, taking an interest in insanity. While the reforms of these hospitals no doubt crippled more than one Malkavian supply of blood, the new system permitted them to experiment with lunacy like they had never been able to before. Some set themselves up as psychologists, while others visited psychologists as patients. The rise of the bohemian lifestyle meant many more kine were willing to expand their own perceptions with new cultures, experiences, and drugs, and the Malkavians were only too happy to oblige them. New forms of expression and ways of thinking both nourished the Malkavians and allowed them to be as extravagant as they pleased. After all, if a finely dressed gentleman is shouting about how dogs on the street are telling him to kill people, it must be the newest performance piece going around the salons. The Malkavians always had a dangerous reputation due to their madness and their signature dementation discipline, which can induce madness in others. With the Inquisition, an organization within the Roman Catholic Church tasked to rid the world of evil and heresy in all its forms in the name of God, and the formation of the Camarilla, the clan faced possible extinction. The Malkavians were just too dangerous to continue existing. In order to prevent this, the elders of the clan changed in ways unknown and incomprehensible. The result was that the majority of Clan Malkavian discarded dementation in favor of the dominate discipline. More disturbingly, the majority of Malkavians, even those present at the time of the change, were unaware that this had happened. A small fragment of the clan preserved the dementation discipline and defected to the Sabbat. This discipline division was fixed in 1998 when, for reasons unknown to anyone, the dementation resurfaced within the Camarilla, although several dominate Malkavians remain unaffected for some reason. On the surface, Clan Malkavian is barely a clan, with the majority of Malkavians only marginally aware that they even belong to one. What connections Malkavians have are usually informal, with sire-child relationships being the most common, although Malkavian sires are prone to abandoning their childer. Malkavians operate on their own timescale and will gather spontaneously for incomprehensible events. Malkavians usually do not explain how they know these events are occurring, and when they do, their explanation isn't necessarily worth anything. Scratch deep enough, and it appears that the Malkavians are highly organized. So highly organized that they don't even know that they are, and instead continue to pursue esoteric goals that even they are not aware are relevant. Rumor is more widespread than truth with regard to Malkavian organization. Some say they all share a hive consciousness, a network of madness that puts all Malkavians in contact with one another and is the cause of their crippling insanity. The strength of the voices varies from Malkavian to Malkavian, however, all of them are at least aware of its call and capable of interacting with it. This hive mind is only accessible by Malkavians, and they themselves barely understand it. Most of them merely listen to the voices, but elders have demonstrated a powerful ability to manipulate the rest of the clan through it. In their moments of lucidity, the Malkavians offer their unorthodox perspectives and devil's advocacy to the Camarilla, offering their visions and unique insights to cut through the webs of deceit. Princes and Primogen tolerate the Malkavian to varying degrees, but the clan as a whole has always been a supporter of the Ivory Tower. Like all clans, there are variants that exist in the bloodline, and the Malkavians are no exception. The Ananke bloodline, a remnant of a bygone age, are said to have kept ancient temples where oracles performed haruspecs, the art of divination through reading the entrails of a freshly killed animal to read truths in blood. Ananke believed that the secrets of the universe could be witnessed by scrutinizing the bodies of the recently dead. Wisdom can only be gained by savagely tearing into the inner workings of each creature in creation. This means that an Ananke Malkavian often has a low morality, sacrificing their humanity in favor of their search for answers in gore. Although the bloodline is experiencing a resurgence, mostly since more promising children are available due to the modern fascination with serial killers, by and large the Ananke are few. A member of this bloodline surrounds themselves with the visceral workings of the universe in an attempt to find deeper understanding. The Malkavians of the Islamic faith are called the Bayat Majnun. Many were held as advisors, bodyguards, and even Islamic prophets. Legends tell that Malkav, or Mahid, as they call him, sought to understand the secrets of the jinn, a race of spirit beings that can be good or evil. Mahid stood on the same rock where Abraham attempted to sacrifice Isaac, and here he made a deal with a powerful jinn. In exchange for being allowed to inhabit his body and in turn witness the material world, the jinn would grant Mahid the ability to see the spiritual world. The deal, however, backfired on them both and turned them both insane. Every time a Bayat Majnun creates a child, or a small portent of the jinn is fused to the recipient, turning them insane and allowing them to see the world of the spirits. The voice of this jinn then guides the Bayat Majnun through their unlife, growing stronger until it is ready to be divided again through another embrace. With the advent of Islam, some rejected this origin myth. The divine insight was determined to be from the prophets, and they argued that Muhammad was indeed the last prophet, but only for the living. They preached their visions to the unliving, traveling across the Middle East to spread their unique interpretations of the faith. The Sabbat Malkavian are, if possible, even more insane than their Camarilla siblings. This is in no small part due to the brutal conditions associated with being a member of the Sabbat. To the Sabbat Malkavians, insanity is a weapon, albeit one that hopelessly distorts them. Mastery of its use may take decades or even centuries. Sabbat Malkavian are skilled at psychological abuse. They can pry information from even the most stoic victim or mortify the staunchest of captives. Rumors abound of Sabbat seers who divine successes by reading entrails ripped from a still-living human, and of blood-maddened prophets who augur the coming of Gehenna. The most dangerous of all, the serial killers and suicide cultists, are chosen for special missions into Camarilla-held territory and sent to spread the madness with which they are burdened in order to pave the way for the Great Jihad. While all Malkavians suffer from some sort of mental illness, it is especially prominent in the Sabbat Malkavians. Malkavians have traditionally fulfilled two roles in vampire society: seers and jokers. As seers, Malkavians have relied on advanced auspecs and their madness hive mind to provide information. Malkavians being Malkavians, this information is generally incomplete and filtered through cracked lenses. The joker role is somewhat more complex. Malkavians have a clan tradition of pranking. The exact purpose of these pranks is open to debate. They often appear intended to readjust the target's perceptions, but are also often sadistic. In the Camarilla, Malkavians are tolerated. They are rarely princes, but often are important primogen or otherwise figures of authority. Given their obvious insanity, princes traditionally give the Malkavians a certain amount of freedom, and in return, Malkavians are generally expected to demonstrate enough self-control to not break the masquerade. This is not a benevolent arrangement, but largely driven by fear on both sides. Fundamentally, Malkavians are unknowable, and the general attitude among princes is that it is better to keep them quiet and happy, since unhappy Malkavians have a tendency towards causing bizarre and inexplicable incidents. Conversely, Malkavians need the protection of the Camarilla. Many Malkavians are gifted with insight into the world around them, and through their shared madness and the powers of auspex and dementation, many are able to glimpse little bits of the future or of the past. True oracles and seers, however, go beyond these common talents. They are blessed or cursed with strong visions that come upon them without warning. No one knows for sure from where this connection originates, but some embrace these powers and attempt to channel them. Some try to shun the visions totally and get on as if nothing happened, and other non-sensitive Malkavians use the pictures of the prophet for their own advantage, like mortal fortune tellers using vague prophecies to secure themselves a safe place. Those with the true sight, however, often suffer for it, as they receive visions they do not understand and then watch helplessly as they unfold before them. Despite their madness, most Malkavians are not antisocial. In a certain period of time during their own lives, they may experience the cravings of companionship, and often such companionship can ground a Malkavian's madness, giving them a focus that solitary Malkavians often lack.
What? Oh my, a Malcavian! This ought to be absolutely delicious. Two minds as crazy as ours, and who knows just what might happen. No one flirts like a Malkavian. Your compliments make me positively tingly.
The Malkavians are one of the more intellectually focused of the Camarilla clans, and as a result, Malkavian candidates for the Embrace tend to be intelligent and somewhat odd. While the Malkavian Embrace guarantees insanity, they do tend to choose candidates who are already halfway there. Malkavians embrace with all the caprice one would assume from them. Lunatic childer come from all economic and cultural backgrounds, and most have some sort of hard luck story or black secret behind them that caused their sire to take note. Truly damaged Malkavians who are unaware of the meanings of their actions may not even be aware that they have sired childer, which makes for a very difficult entry into kindred society for these cast-offs. Those Malkavians whose derangement is so severe as to make them non-functional are called the Nod. While Malkavians can come from any culture, the madness following the Embrace tends to lead them to extremes of self-presentation. Malkavians may appear disheveled, injured, or simply dirty, and they could still be wearing the same clothes from the night of their Embrace, or they may have stolen clothes from a laundromat or a department store during a fit of confusion. Of course, Malkavians are just as likely to be meticulous and exacting in their appearance, trying obsessively to appear as normal as possible. But consistency is rare among Malkavians, and in addition to unpredictable attire, they establish havens where they think to, where they can, and where they can recall. A significant number of Malkavians have literally no home, spending each night where exhaustion or the sun leaves them. Others may permanently have the presidential suite in a posh hotel, a squat in the sewers, or a broom closet in an abandoned building. According to Vampire the Masquerade 20th Anniversary Edition, these are some of the Malkavians' opinions on the other clans and factions. There's something flattering in what they're doing, like I'm a little piece of their god. You can't hide your horns, devil man. Walking westward, they should meet the sun before it sinks. Ashes, ashes, we all fall down, and get back up, and dance with ghosts. A hyena doesn't ever choose to be a hyena, I think. It looks different depending on if I close my left or my right eye. Made up of the pieces of the people they've harmed, each time they feed, they become a little less. If you can rub those letters off of their foreheads, they'll stop in their tracks. I tried to sprinkle salt on one's tail and he bit off my hand. I will make you a fine new waistcoat, my emperor. When all you do is look behind you, you never realize that the door in front of you is closed. They have the answer, but they don't understand the riddle itself. Now I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about the Malkavians? Did you play as one in Bloodlines 1, and are you looking forward to meeting some in Bloodlines 2? Did you learn anything new about them in this video? What are your thoughts on the language used when describing Malkavians and their fractured minds? I make videos multiple times a week, and every Monday is Masquerade Monday, so if you enjoy what I do, please consider hitting that subscribe button. A huge shout out to Ian Watson, aka Fawn Aether, for his help with compiling the info for this video, and for offering insight into Vampire the Masquerade lore. These videos literally could not be made without him. Thank you so very much for watching, it means the absolute world to me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!